my friends, and welcome back to EVE Online with me, Mark from DadX. And today we're going to have a look at the fitting screen, more as a UI than anything else. The CCP EVE Academy recently released a video on fitting your ship, a very basic guide, and a very good basic guide it is too. That covers what the fitting screen is for, the general principles of fitting. This is meant really as a complement to that. There will be more than one video looking at different parts of this in detail. But today we're just going to look at the fitting screen, as I said, as a UI, what you can do with it and what it can do for you. So here we go. We're going to just do a tour, basically a lap of the fitting screen, just talking about what's here, what it does, etc, etc. So we're going to start here with the information button, which is going to give the information on the hull that you are in. It's a very good place to start is to check what bonuses the hull you're in has and to fit it with those in mind. There's no point in trying to fit an exploration ship for high DPS. There's no point in trying to fit a logistics ship that's got nice bonuses for logistics but none for combat. All you need to do is go and shoot some rats. So do bear that in mind. That's the starting point. Next we have your ship's name. Now you can't interact with your ship's name here other than to drag it down here into local, into an email, in-game, etc, etc, and if I press enter, that'll be sent. There you go, we'll send it to local. A free gift to local is my cormorant fitting. That's how you share it. You just drag the name from there. Now what I will ask you all to do is to not leave your name in your ship name, and to change it you actually need to go into your inventory, right click on your ship, change name, take your name out of it. If you leave your name in your ship name, anyone that spots you on D-scan knows that is your ship. And that is tactical information you may not want people to have. So just change the name of your ship. It's nicer too. Now before we move on, we're going to stop here at the simulate fit button, and I'm going to switch on the simulation. The reason for that is because that then treats all of these numbers and data on the rest of the screen as if your ship was actively in space with everything running, and also makes a difference later on when we're looking at putting modules into a fit. So I switched on the simulation. It was only when I was doing a little bit of a mooch around for some research for this video that the simulator has only been in the game since 2017. It seems quite a while now, but it's not. So yeah, for a long time we played EVE with no simulation in game. You had to use a third-party app for that kind of thing. Down here we have information about the performance of the fit. It's split into sections: capacitor, offense, defense, offense for the Americans, targeting, navigation, and drones. They're all collapsible. You can just click the tab if you want to put them away, but these numbers are always quite handy to be seeing. Right, this number up here is, with the fit simulated and everything running, how quickly we would run out of capacitor. That of course is basically the ship's battery, as it were, for powering modules that need to be activated during use. So in 2 minutes 20 seconds we will have no capacitor left and all of our active modules will switch off. Often you will be told to use fits that are cap stable, i.e. you can run everything forever and you will never run out of cap. Situationally they are very good. We'll talk about that in another video very soon. Here we have 576, it's actually the capacitor capacity, and here we have how long it would take your capacitor to fully recharge, 272 seconds. What's that, about 3.5 minutes? This figure right here is telling us that overall we are losing 2.7 gigajoules a second from our capacitor. That's with all of these modules running. If you want to simulate the fit by turning off one of your propulsion modules, for instance, which won't be running all the time, you can see then we are actually cap stable. And here we get a percentage figure of how much we are over or under basically being cap stable right there. Next line is the offense line. We've got the DPS number here. That is the raw DPS of the weapons in a perfect world, assuming perfect application. Do bear that in mind. This number is a perfect number. You actually have to get a good hit on the target to be applying that much damage. But if we just hover over it, you can see there it's actually going to split the damage into what we're getting from the turrets and the missiles, because on this fit I do have blasters and one rocket launcher. It will also split that there if you do have drones in your fit and active. The figure here is your DPS allowing for the reloads. That's only really going to be an issue on a few weapon systems. I'm thinking artillery and rapid missile launchers. We'll talk about those when we're talking about modules. And this number right here, 811 hit points, is Basically, the damage you would inflict again with perfect application if all your weapons hit that target perfectly. So basically that's our alpha strike number, 811 hit points. So when people are referring to the alpha of your fit, that is that. Down here we have details of the defense of the current fit. The first number is the effective hit points. That is the actual hit points of your ship in terms of the hull, the armor and the shield, as in their hit points, plus the resistances factored in on top of that. So do bear that in mind when you're looking at your EHP number. Just looking at this fit quickly, it's got no EM resistances on its shield because I haven't bothered to fill that hole. Got very poor thermal resistances, but it does the job it's designed for. So if I was to be hit by something doing just pure EM damage on me, some nice EM missiles, I wouldn't in effect have those hit points. Just bear that in mind. Your effective hit points is not always going to be what's actually in play at any given time. If we just go down to here, we have a selectable tab. This is going to allow us to see our armor repair rate or our hull repair rate, our passive shield recharge or our shield boost rate. Now the hull, the armor and the shield boost rate, they refer to how much you'd be getting repaired if you had an active repairer on your fit. We don't, we've got a passive fit. Passive shield recharge is how quickly the shield is just going to recharge naturally. 13 hit points a second. That can be modified. We'll look at that when we're looking at the modules in more detail. Then we have the shields. This is a shield tanked ship. So we've got the most hit points are in our shields. And the time to recharge fully at that rate that we got there, 13 hit points a second, is 500 seconds. Boy, that's a long time. Then we've got the shield's resistances for EM, thermal, kinetic and explosive. Down below we've got the armor, 840 hit points of armor, and the resistances we've got on the armor, and then again for the hull. 840 hull hit points and split resistances, nice and even for the hull. Next we have targeting. First number here is our targeting range. That's the distance things need to be at or within for you to lock them up. 41.4 kilometers in this case. The next number here is, in the case of this Caldari ship, it's gravimetric sensor strength. Now the type of your sensor is going to be dependent on the race of your ship. We'll look at that when we look at the racial differences in another video. All we really need to know is the higher that number is, the more defense we have against being ECM'd and the harder we are to probe down using combat probes. Next number is scan resolution. We want a higher number here. That is how quickly we can lock targets. Number down below that, 7, is how many targets we can have locked simultaneously. That can be varied with skills and will vary sometimes from ship to ship. Next number here, signature radius. We want a low number here. This is the effective size of our ship in terms of other people locking it and it taking damage from the stuff shooting at it. So you want a small number for signature radius. Down below here we have navigation. That's our full speed with the micro warp drive running. If we want to just click on the micro warp drive to turn it off, that's our base speed without it running, 300 meters a second. With it running, we're up to nearly 1500. If we overheat it, we're over 2000 meters a second. Next layer down, we've got the mass of our ship. That basically affects its agility. It does have an implication when you're using wormholes, but with a ship this size, it's not going to make a difference, and that's a story for another day. Next number here is our inertia modifier. That's how quickly we can accelerate and how quickly we can turn. Basically our agility stat. Again, can be modified, as can all these stats, with skills, modules and rigs. The ship warp speed, that's exactly just what it says there. That's how far a second you warp. 4.5 seconds. The quicker your warp speed, the quicker you get on grid when there's action. The quicker you get to the safety of the gate or station when there's action you don't want to participate in. And the next one here, align time. That's how long it takes us to enter warp from a full stop. That will be affected by your speed, your velocity, especially your micro warp drive running. But that is the basics time it's going to take us from hitting warp to aligning and going into warp. So that is also how long we're going to be there to be hit, how long we're there to be locked, and how long we're there to be tackled after we hit the warp button. So do bear that in mind. The next field down is a little bit redundant, but we will look at other fits just to illustrate various things. So this is drones, so we're going to get the DPS we're getting from the drones, our drone control range, which is obviously a very important number, 40 kilometers for this alt. Megabits per second is how many drones we can fly, and how many active drones we have in the fit is here, which in this case is 0. Okay, down here in the bottom corner we have the estimated value of the fit. Although it's not just the fit, because as this is showing us, and I did this deliberately to remind me to mention it, this value will also include whatever is in the cargo hold, which includes a little bit of loot, so I'll just get rid of that. Now while we're in the simulated mode, the hold is simulated, so if I remove anything from here, it's only removing it from the simulated fit, not the real fit. So I'll just switch the simulation off quickly. We can just click right on here to get straight into the cargo hold, although I actually want to go into the inventory. I want to keep that on board, I want to keep that on board, and I want to put all of those just in the hangar. Lovely, sorted. Right. That's that little bit of tidying up done. So now you can see a more realistic figure for the cost of the fit. And those two bits of nice loot, the clone soldier tags, they're worth about 40 million, a pair of those. And I got those in about 15 minutes in this ship. I do a lot of videos on that kind of thing. I'll link one at the end of this. If you're new to the channel, getting rich in cheap ships and learning some low-sec skills is what I'm all about. But enough of that. What I will say about this here is that we also have a buy all button. So it is quite possible, and I sometimes do it, fly to your local trade hub. I do recommend that, wherever you're likely to be able to get everything. But do check the prices before you complete the purchase, because you might get some very overpriced bits and pieces dragged into the automatic purchase. So do just double check. I'd usually expect to pay a little bit more than this figure when I actually go to buy it, but just check it's not ridiculous. Moving on, we have two of the most important numbers on the fit screen right here, the CPU and the power grid. Now almost every module we're going to fit is going to take up some CPU or some power grid, and as that goes down, that limits what we can fit onto the ship. Now all of these stats down here I'm going to look at in a separate video of the skills, rigs and modules that can help either increase what we have available or decrease what we are using. Defense section, which obviously involves various forms of tank, armor, shield, hull, active, passive, regen, etc., is probably going to be a little bit more complicated than that, but we shall look at how to boost these in the next video. Cutting straight across the bottom, I'm going to go back into simulate. As I said, we've got the simulated cargo hold here. Now what you can do, and it's especially useful when you want to go to the shops and buy everything without too much messing about, is you can manually adjust the amounts in this simulated fit that you're going to save just right here. So if I decide I actually need 4,000 Nova Rage rockets in my loadout, I can simply type it in there. When I save the fit, go and buy all at the shop. I will make sure I have enough ammo. It's caught me out a lot of times, so that's how you avoid it. Make sure your saved fit has the ammo you want to kind of have in your loadout, just as a little reminder for you. We don't have any drones on this fit, but we will have a look at a fit that does, just so we can see how to interface with them here. I'm going to carry on along the bottom first. We've got the import export tab. Now this is import from clipboard, copy to clipboard. So literally cut and paste. So in the videos I usually put in the description the fit that I've used in that video. You can just copy all of that stuff from the description and then paste it straight into the fit screen just using these commands here. These two here will produce a file of all of your fittings that you can then pass on either in an email or via Discord. I did that earlier just to see if that worked. And the bottom option here, this will make a list that you can then paste into any kind of note document to basically show you all the skills that you would need to use the modules in that fit. It can be quite handy if you want to just get an overview of that. You just press copy skills to clipboard. If I've got any, I must have some kind of note open here. Let me just stick it in here. There you go. So all of the skills relevant to that fit are right here. So that's one way of you getting the required skills for a fit. So there you are. In case you didn't know, that's what that button does. Then we got the save as button. It does exactly what it says on the tin. If you have the rights to save settings for your corp, it will give the option when you press there, as you can see, to save for corporation or save for ThinTrash. So make sure you put it where you want it. And don't forget, if you are going to leave a corp and you want to take some of those fittings with you, make sure you resave them to your personal stash. The next button here, fit ship. Basically, if I'm in a ship and I've got a simulated fitting, if I open the fitting and I've got all the parts available, I can press that button and it will fit the ship for me. Right, I'm going to come across to this side of the interface first, and then we'll get back to the middle and see what we can mess around with in there. So first of all, we've got these buttons up here which are very self-explanatory. It's your personal save fittings with the two, yeah, I've got 157 out of 250. Your corporation saved fittings. These ones are community fittings. They're very good for you new bros to help you get going. They're pretty sound. Some could take a little bit of a tweaking and be cheaper and be better, but on the whole they're pretty good. I'm not actually sure where they come from. I will try and find out. The next filter here is current hull, so that will only show the fits for the ship that we are in right now. Save a lot of clutter if that's all you want. And this button here will limit the fits visible to those that we have the skills for. So as you can see here, with that switched off, I can see these 3 Brutix fits. As soon as I click that button on, all of those Galante fits disappear. I've only got these ones left. I actually need that button switched off for our next little demonstration fit, which is going to be that Ferox right there. But anyway, as you can see, all of the ship classes are listed here, and most of the ships are then sub-split into their race or non-empire in the case of things like the Triglavian ships up here. So that's how you find your ship. You can search, of course, right in that search term bar there. Right down the bottom in special edition ships is where you'll find the likes of the Praxis, the Sunesis and the Gnosis. I think the Edencom ships are in there, plus Alliance tournament ships, etc, etc. So if there's something you can't find in the ship class tab, just have a look down here, especially if it's something particularly exotic. Any fits showing with the Red Cross Bylum, I don't have the skills for. Any with the tick, we're good to go. What I will say is, early on, if you do have the filter for my skills only tab on, you might look at fits, and there are even fits in the community tab, that you're only actually like 5 minutes training away from being able to fly. And you only need that nudge. Oh yeah, I need to, if I learn that skill, I can fly that fit. If you don't have those fits visible because you've got that button clicked on, you won't see how easy it is for you to get into that active armor repair ship rather than the passive one that you've already got the skills for. So do use these, you know, and have a little look around. Don't just leave them set on your filters. The second tab here is hardware. Now again, we have a selection of icons here along the top. Now this is where we're actually going to get all the modules available to drag or use into the fitting screen. Again, we have filter buttons here that are quite self-explanatory. The low slot modules only, mid slot, high slot, rigs, drones. This is going to filter modules that can only be fit to your ship. This one here, filter by resources. You can filter by total resources. I usually leave it on that. You can filter by remaining resources. You only really want to use that setting when you've got 1 slot left and you want to see what you could possibly fit in it. So that's what that'll do. You've got 1 slot left on a fit. Click that to filter by remaining resources, and the only modules that will show up will be the ones that you could get on. And there's usually something you can get on. Never fly a ship with empty slots, please. And again, we've got the skills filter button there, which may be more useful sometimes with the modules rather than the actual fits, because there can be clutter. But again, why not just see what you can aim for? So now let's draw our attention to the simulated Ferox fitting I fitted up here. Now top left, you'll see we've got some little alert icons. Now the orange one, the book, is telling us that we haven't got the required skills to use the modules on that fit. You can see the blasters are highlighted on there. They're Tech 2 mediums, and this alpha hasn't trained the skills. Could train the skills, but hasn't. You can also see that it's drawing my attention to the cargo hold. And the problem in the cargo hold is the ammo, because I haven't got the skills to use Tech 2 medium ammo either yet. The white triangle, these are kind of advisories. It's not saying something's catastrophically wrong, it's kind of a are you sure? Now in this case, it's given us a warning of diminishing returns. That is because if you have 3 or more modules or rigs which are affecting the same stat on the ship. Now those effects usually aren't too bad. If you want to check in the simulated mode, of course all these numbers here are simulated. So if we put some ammo in the guns, it's still going to simulate the fit even though I can't use it technically. And if we just switch off one of the magnetic field stabilizers, you can see exactly what it's giving us DPS wise. 63 DPS, I don't mind if it's a diminishing return, I'll take that, thank you. So just check, they're kind of advisories. We'll see some more when we look at some different fits. Now up here obviously we've got the high slots, and we are limited by this icon here, turret hard points. We can fit 6 turrets, and we've got 6 turrets fitted. On this ship we cannot fit any launcher hard points. That's missile launchers, unlike the Cormorant, which could have 1 rocket launcher, remember. So this spare high slot is what's known as a utility slot, and we can put any module that's a high slot module in there that is not a turret or a missile launcher. You can also put that kind of module in any of these high slots, so these aren't restricted to only being turret slots. So we could actually fill this empty slot here just by looking at what we did earlier. If we turn on that filter and to remaining resources, click on the high slots, so all we'll get displayed in here now is stuff that will fit onto this Ferox fit. And the most useful thing here is probably going to be a probe launcher. And as we hover over the module, if you look down at the CPU and power grid ratings there on the screen, you will actually see that it's already modelling the effect they would have. So that's quite useful. Now to get stuff from here to over here, you can either drag it and drop it, or you can just double click on it and it will fit in there. There you go, there's our core probe launcher in there. We'll then get an additional warning here that we do not have the required charges to fill the launcher. So there's another little reminder for us, so make sure you get some of your core scanner probes before you leave. Next we're going to have a quick look at a Praxis fit that I can't fly. Let's see why I can't fly this one. I can't fly this one because I cannot use the signal amplifier 2, so I can just downgrade that to a different module and I'll be absolutely fine. I'm getting 2 warnings here. Diminishing returns again on the shield tank for EM resistance, explosive resistance, kinetic resistance and thermal resistance. I've got 3 multi-spectrum shield hardeners there, and it's them that are stacking. And down in the low slots we've got the 3 ballistic control systems, and that's causing the same diminishing return on the rate of fire and damage bonus. But I'm happy with what we're getting from this fit. What I can show you down here, because we've got a nice big loadout of drones, is that you can adjust which ones are actually being shown in the fit right down here. So I've switched off the Navy hammerheads. If you look on the offense up here, only the drones are showing because there are no missiles in the launchers. So there you go. So the Vespers will give me 194 DPS. So you can select the drones you want here. If you click that, you're going to remove them. The other button we do need to look at in the hardware section actually is of course the launcher ammo. So if we click on there, the rapid heavy missile launcher, that's all the different ammos we can use in there. And then again, you can drag them into the fitting screen here and that will load all the launchers with them. Or alternatively, if you want to save them into the fit, you want to drag one into the cargo hold and then adjust the number as I showed you earlier on. So there you go, we don't need 10,000, there you go. So if you want ammo in the fit screen to be shown, drag it in the middle, it will go into the launchers. If you want to make sure it's saved in the fit as ammo, just drag it down into there. The rig slots here are where you can modify many aspects of your ship's performance. They're regulated by the calibration value, which will be taken up by the rigs as you put them on. There's nothing you can do skill wise to change this. One thing to bear in mind with rigs is that every benefit they do have a downside, and training skills can mitigate the downside, but skills cannot increase the performance of the rigs. Now I've just switched to another Praxis fit, which is marked red. I know I can't fly it, but now we've got a red triangle. This is a serious problem. We're over CPU. So not all the modules on that fit can be switched on. They'll all be switched on in the simulation, but we cannot fly this fit as it is. We're out of CPU. Now we've got an amber alert, a fitting advisory. Diminishing returns, that is because the mid slots on this ship are full of sensor boosters, because this is a bit of a specialist fit, this one. Those of you that know will know. And we've got probably lots of skills here that I can't use. Okay, we just simulate the fit again quickly. I did show you when we were just showing the module speed display here, that if you just click on a module, when you're in simulation they're all switched on and running. If you click them once, they'll go into their overheat state, which damages the module but does increase their performance. Be careful if you're a new bro about overheating. You need to be careful. If you click it again, it's completely blurred out. It doesn't even show in the fit. It's not there. just framed kind of in white. It's in the fit, but it's not switched on, and then you switch it back on. You can do that with all the modules here. The only ones you can't switch on and off are the rigs. You have to remove them from the simulated fitting. Remember, removing rigs from a ship once they're fitted does destroy them, so make sure you're in simulation before you mess with your rigs. This button here, the last one we're going to look at, is a way of changing the state of all the modules at once. So they're all online, but then nothing is turned on there. All turned on, all overheated. Those that can be overheated, so that's the active modules, but it's only on the top rack. That's going to put our DPS up to its overheat. Put them back to their normal state. Then remove modules. That's all of the weapons will be removed. Remove the ammo from the weapons and switch them all off. Remove them from the fit. So this button here only affects the top slots when you're not in simulation. This is the button you use to group and ungroup your weapons. In the fitting screen, you can only have them all grouped or all separate. When you're in space, you could group this into a group of 3 and a group of 4 or pairs. You can just drag them onto each other when you're in space, but that's what you can do in the fitting screen. Anyway, I think that is it for the tour of the interface. The hardware list isn't the only place you can get modules from to drag into your fit. Do remember that you can actually drag them straight in from your cargo hold, any inventory screen. A quick way I do, just a quick tip. If I want to change a module for a different variant, I show info. Open the variations tab, say I want to go for a compact rather than a restrained, I can just remove that and then drag the compact from there, job done. Saves a little bit of clicking. We then have one other tab here which is available skins. I have a couple available for the Cormorant, but if you want to see what your ship looks like in the various skins available, you can click on them right here. And down here is a clean ship button, which really does clean your ship. Look at that, gleaming. And while we're on the subject of skins, actually, let's have a look, because this very handsome skin right here is available. This Vedmak skin, I've got 2 of these to give away for this video, so leave me a comment down below. Have you found this useful? Any suggestions? I know I've had to say not a lot of stuff to keep this video to at least a reasonable size for just explaining the UI. More detail will be gone into soon, but any particular questions, leave them down below in a comment. Leave your in-game names with your comment, and you've got a chance of winning one of these very handsome and worth quite a lot of ISK Vedmak skins. So comments down below. Good luck. So next video, we're going to go into the details of skills, modules and rigs that are going to help with the capacitor, going to help with the targeting and the navigation and the drones. The tank and the offense, but obviously they're topics that need a little bit more in-depth discussion than some of these others. And of course, the all-important how to get more and use less CPU and power grid when you're fitting your ships. But I'm going to leave you with one little piece of advice for now. I have my arty Thrasher fit right here, which I sneaked into nullsec at the weekend to run a 3 out of 10. It's got a core probe launcher on there, so it can do a bit of scanning, find some sites for itself. I'm getting the alert there because I don't actually have any scanning probes in the hold at the moment, so that's kind of like the "you've forgotten the ammo, mate" warning, which is very handy just in case I didn't trigger that one earlier when I was running through them. But with short CPU, we cannot scan as things stand, but that's okay because we're never going to need to web something at the same time as we're scanning. So we turn off the web, turn on the scanner. Now that's all well and good on the fitting screen, you may say, but how does that actually apply out in space? So we'll go and have a little look just in case you've never seen this. It's all just part of the right clicks on the interface. The only limitation is you need 95% of your capacitor charged up to be able to do it. So let's just say we're out here, we can stop the ship, we've done a bit of scanning, we've got some combat sites ready to go and hit, so we're just going to put that module offline and we've got a full capacitor, so we can just switch on the Weber, no problem. If you have done a little bit of burning around, used a bit of capacitor already, you will just get an alert and you can just sit and wait. But quite often you will find when you're not doing any of those kind of activities, so if I now try to offline the Weber and online, that I need 95% capacitor, I've only got 42. So that is how you online and offline modules out in space, and it can just add a little bit more versatility to your ship basically. Just bear that in mind. Do you need everything running at the same time when your fitting screen's telling you you can't fit everything on? Anyway, I'm going to leave you there, I think, my friends. I couldn't do a whole episode without being in space at all. what a nicer ship to do it in than the Thrasher. So leave me any comments, any feedback is always very, very welcome. Subscribe if you haven't already, please. Remember to leave your in-game name in your comment if you want to be entered into the skin giveaway. Click that notification bell if you want to know when the next video is out, looking at how the modules fit into the fitting screen in more detail. But for now, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other. Fly safe, fly brave, and goodbye.